Canada's economy and housing market are falling apart. People regret buying a home. They regret having such a big mortgage. You've got Mark Carney, who is saying the economy is the strongest it's ever been.
Affordability is the best it's been in over a decade.
Let's get into all of this contradicting information, but let's really start off with the data here. So Canadian mortgage arrears hit 12-year high. Banks see 2020 boom wiped out in terms of the mortgages. So you can see here on a chart, the arrears rate is hitting a 9-year high here. Some people may say, well, it's still only 0.279%.
Itsy bitsy little gully right now.
But during the 1990s crash, the levels were exactly the same. The CBA data is very, very broken, to say the least. It doesn't even include all the B lenders, the C lenders, the D lenders, and all those lenders were booming during this run-up in this massive bubble that happened. So Canadian bank mortgages in arrears hits 12-year high. Canadian bank mortgages at least 90 days past due. So this is significant. This is the highest level since 2014, and you've also got the mortgages shrinking at the banks, which we're also going to get onto because that is huge news. It's a sign that credit is tightening, whether it's due to the banks themselves pulling back on credit or it's just the fact that nobody is taking on mortgages right now. And you can see it here. Canadian banks have seen the entire 2020s low rate boom reverse. Canadian mortgages held by banks at the peak was around 5.11 million and now stands around 4.92 million. So still a massive amount of mortgages held by Canadian banks, but it has started to decline. And another thing, we've actually seen the admission of the Bank of Montreal saying finally what we have been saying on this channel for years and years and years about the population bubble distorting growth. And that's exactly what they say here. You can choose later on when you see Mark Carney whether you believe Carney or whether you believe the Bank of Montreal. I'm siding obviously with the Bank of Montreal. I've been talking about this long before them. They say here the economy was arguably much weaker in 2023 when per capita GDP was dropping heavily, masked only by supercharged population growth, says the Bank of Montreal. I've been talking about this for a long time. So, subscribe to this channel if you're interested in that type of information. All these central banksters, these central planners have no clue what they're doing.
Who cares?
Elbows up. Elbows up.
They're unable to see even what is right in front of them. And nothing is as clear as this. I mean, I've been saying, long followers of the channel know this, that since 2022, Canada has been in a recession. Since that per capita recession really started, and it was a facade. Population growth was a facade masking the growth. The same way in the United States right now, you've got AI doing the exact same thing, masking the fact that the economy is actually very weak. Now, of course, what you would expect from a Canadian banking regulator within these circumstances is them to reduce the domestic stability buffer. That's exactly what you would expect.
Or look at it say, it's beautiful.
You would say, hey, you don't have to hold as much cash on hand because, everything is fine, guys. Everything is absolutely fine as well. I mean, the arrears rate, that's not hitting a 12-year high, is it?
It said there was a contingency.
So, just don't hold that much cash on hand. How about that? We're going to even reduce it. So, I mean, the lobbying must have been insane, but Canada's federal banking regulator says it's lowering its domestic stability buffer to 3% from 3.5%. A move it says will give the country's 6 largest banks greater flexibility to deploy capital.
Fun coupons. See that?
I mean, this is literally like saying you can take more risk on when the risk is boiling over and you're beginning to see banks like TD who are even drawing down their accumulated credit loss provisions. So, I mean, that says exactly what's happening. They're not putting enough money away, so their savings pot that they built up for bad loans is actually starting to decline.
That's not good, is it?
So, I mean, this literally happened on June 19th and it is absolutely wild. It really is. And at the same time as that, everybody is in regret about the massive mortgage that they took on during the pandemic.
I have to basically beg people to come and just even look at the house.
37% of recent first-time buyers regret the size of the mortgage they took on, says new report. Would they regret it, though, if their home price had gone up loads in price? Probably not. Let me know in the chat and comment below as well. So a renewal wave is putting borrowers managing higher payments under pressure. I mean, this is just completely insane as well, isn't it? Among first-time home buyers who bought within the past 5 years, 2/3 are anxious about renewing at a higher rate because they're going to see their payment jump substantially. Some of them who need to refinance just simply aren't even going to qualify.
Lenders are not funding the deals.
And we're seeing that with the data in the biggest bubbles like Toronto and Vancouver, where you got foreclosures and power sales that are rising. 37% regret the size of the mortgage they took on, according to the report. So there you go, 37% regret the size of the mortgage that they took on. And I was saying that back in 2021 that this was going to be the case. It was going to be a terrible hangover for a lot of people, and that's exactly what is happening. And according to RBC, when is the perfect time to buy a home? 64% of Canadians actually saying it don't exist.
Who cares?
Elbows out. Elbows up.
So, I mean, that tells you pretty much what a lot of people think of the housing market, because it's just still wildly unaffordable, apart from a few places in Canada. In most of the major economic centers, in Toronto, the GTA, that area especially, which is so much of Canada's GDP, you're just not going to be able to afford a home unless you're in Brampton and know somebody that'll fudge your income.
Yeah, boy.
And yes, that's still going on, as we covered recently in another video. And then you've got, I mean, it is hilarious, but at the same time, it's also equally frustrating. Building a stronger, more independent, more resilient Canadian economy. Canada's economy rebounds, growing more than expected. And this was mostly due to the value of oil exports and the fact the government printed so much money. So let's take a look here at the replies, because obviously you had some phenomenal ones. So Richard Diaz here, because of mining, oil and gas. Thanks for playing. So there you can see on that chart basically what happened with the lift there. And then we need more of the truth. Just kidding. Ottawa pays us to write this crap. Canada's economy is still a dumpster fire. Anything is a rebound after our recession the last 2 quarters. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. More independent, the growth came from being dependent on the war in Iran. And then you can see that here, mining and oil and gas extraction pulling up the GDP there. You've also got public administration, which was one of the biggest gainers. You've got construction that was up, but remember, that was a lot of layoffs that happened in construction in June that we covered. I'll link that video at the end of this one. Again, subscribe. We do these updates every single month on the job market. So a lot of construction jobs lost. This GDP data is incredibly laggy here. And then you've got another one. Canadians urge Carney to resign. Concerns of extreme gaslighting continue to rise. And people just aren't accepting what he's saying there. They're getting it. It's oil and gas. Like, people understand. But unfortunately, the thing is, Mark Carney is smart enough to know that his voting base doesn't care. They don't look between the cracks. They don't think critically. He knows that.
Yeah. Elbows out. Elbows up.
And, I mean, it's just absolutely insane. We are where we are. But as you're going to see, Canadians actually approve of his economic policy, which is mind-blowing, unless the polls are rigged. And, you know, in Mark Carney's Canada, this is probably what he'd expect you to have, which is $980 room for rent, like a box in the sky. And from what I can see, it has no heating. You get free air conditioning, actually, during the winter, because the windows, I mean, it's going to be absolutely freezing. But $980 a month for this from one of these scumlords. So, I mean, absolutely insane. More and more Canadians are just getting pissed off with what Mark Carney is doing.
Good morning. Another $900 million to Ukraine, please. I'm really happy that Canadians are working very, very hard every single day of their lives to make sure that Ukraine is thriving and Canada's in a recession.
Canada's not in a recession, though. That's the thing. It's the strongest economy yet.
So sick of this shit. I have no quality of life.
Building a stronger, more independent, more resilient Canadian economy. I mean, it's absolutely wild. And then this guy was asked about what the number one struggle was living in Canada. Take a listen to this.
Been living in Canada for?
Probably 27 years.
What would you say is the biggest challenge with living in Canada right now?
Probably cost of living. Yeah, I got 3 kids, and so it's tough, you know, getting everyone through daycare and all this other food, all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you think we should like cut down or maybe stop funding on like all these other countries we keep funding and helping our own more?
I think we need to focus on ourselves. Like we need to focus. Like I'm all for supporting outside causes. Like I know the world is a big place and everyone needs help, but I think, you know, you got to help your household first.
Exactly. You've got to help your household first. And that's exactly what Canada doesn't do. I mean, Mark Carney has got interests elsewhere after all. So he's never going to help Canada. If he can help the US and help his portfolio, then he's going to do that and do that quicker. And he's a bankster after all. So his connections with the banks, you know, at least you can rest assured that no Canadian banks are ever going to be allowed to go bust, because Mark Carney will be there to help them and pick up the bill. And by the way, talking of the big banks, you know, just take a look at this chart of bank lending to buildings, interim construction lending. I mean, it's no wonder that you saw that bailout of the condo sector in Vancouver, because again, the banks incredibly leverage lending to a lot of these developers. Developers still going under. TD Bank just took one into receivership in Toronto, actually. So, I mean, this could definitely impact their balance sheet when you're talking about billions and billions of dollars here, considering they don't even put that much aside for their loan loss provisions. So, if these loans go sour or bad, they're in trouble.
You are broke.
And then I saw this opinion piece on BNN and I thought it was kind of funny. The economy is toppling British prime ministers. Could Canada be next? No. Carney gets high marks on economy despite recession talk. And I mean, is it recession talk, or is it just the fact that he has had the worst growth in his first couple of years? We'll get to that in just a second. So as you can see here, a Nanos Research Group poll for Bloomberg News shows 60% of Canadians think Carney has done a very good or a good job of handling the economy. That compares with 24% who think he's done a poor job or very poor job of the economy. And then take a look at this, because I mean, it's even worse than Justin Trudeau here. As you can see, that was the growth of the first year in office under Justin Trudeau. Mark Carney, pretty much negative right now. And you can see all these former prime ministers, Mark Carney, the worst. And he was the bankster that knows everything. He was so pumped up by the mainstream media. Like, this was the guy who was going to fix the economy because he's a central bankster, and we know central banksters know everything, right? Yeah, they know everything.
Look at this thing. It's beautiful.
I mean, it's completely wild, isn't it? It really is completely wild. I mean, on the point of central banksters, let's go back a couple of weeks ago now when the rate announcement was, and they just held rates, and you had this reporter. And by the way, every time there's an announcement, I'm doing live streams on it. So subscribe if you're interested in that when there's announcements on the rate hikes or the rate cuts or the rate holds. So CTV News reporter calls bullshit on the governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem's outlook on the Canadian economy. Then he admits the country is being propped up by debt-fueled consumer spending. When they tell you everything is fine, the data tells a different story. So take a listen.
Hello.
He doesn't like this
question. Is it possible
either.
that you are being overly optimistic? I'm hearing so many caveats in your comments as to the state of the economy. At the same time, your business survey that you put out just a few days ago indicated that business sentiment has deteriorated over the past 3 quarters, or has deteriorated after improving over the past 3 quarters. So I'd like to get a better sense of the reality. You show, I'm sorry, I'm having problems expressing myself because the data seems conflicting at many points. So what I'm trying to get at is, do you really think that the economy is going to improve this year and over the next few years, given the constraints that we are feeling and facing right now?
Well, we're calling it as we see it. So yes, our baseline forecast is that the economy is going to improve. There are risks around that, as I've talked about. But to come back to why are we feeling more confident that the economy is expanding once again? Going back to some of the data I outlined at the outset. Consumers, you got to give some credit to Canadian consumers. They've been resilient. They are consumer spending is still expanding.
Why is it expanding, though? It's expanding because of 2 things. One, you've got inflation, so higher prices, so people are having to spend more money. And then you've got the fact that the banks are subsidizing it through debt. So basically, if consumers can get more and more credit and they can take on more and more credit, then guess what? Yeah, they can spend more and more, and you can keep this pony show just going. But besides that, he doesn't really have any answers. I mean, he just says oil and gas throughout, and then he just also says consumer spending. Those are the only 2 things that he can point to. Most of the oil and gas revenue is not going and being spread among most Canadians. In fact, they feel the opposite of that because they feel the pain at the pump. They feel the inflation that they get at the grocery store because of the high transportation costs, because of fuel costs. So actually, that's pretty much offset. But once again, the Bank of Canada, as usual, is just far, far behind. And then you've got this as well, which I saw from the Hub, and I just thought was wild. 88% of Canada's largest corporations set demographic hiring target. 96% mandate DEI training. I mean, it's absolutely crazy because then you're not hiring the person who's best to the job. I mean, I can tell you a personal story that happened many years ago. Many years ago. It must have been probably 15, 16, 17 years ago when I was back in the UK. And basically, I was interviewing for a role at the BBC. And it was like 99% males who applied for that job. And there was one female. And actually, we were paired up doing some exercises. And I chose to go with her. And it was interesting because I basically said to her, you know that you're probably going to get the job. Just look around this room. Mostly guys. They're going to have the targets to fill. The job was in technology. So, predominantly male space I knew anyway. And guess what? Afterwards, when I found out I didn't get the job, I asked who got the job because I was really interested. Was it the partner in my group? And it was her. So I was just yeah, it's just the way it goes. It's mightily frustrating. And then this is what it looks like in Carney's Canada in Toronto. Toronto, in one of the best cities in the world. Meanwhile, you've got the mayor who's just like, yeah, everything's great. I'm going out for dinners. I got my cushy salary. Everything's fine for me. Exactly the same as Mark Carney. He doesn't feel any of the major pressures that Canadians feel. He doesn't have to put himself in danger every day riding the TTC or the SkyTrain or the C train. He doesn't have to do that. So, I mean, it's just completely wild what is going on. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please check out this video series here, which is about the decline of Canadian cities. If you want to help support the channel and my work, check out the links in the description below, partners like ExpressVPN. And if you want to go one step further, sign up to my email list. See you in the next one. Take care.